Next, we'll be hearing insights on scaling second chance hiring. Please welcome to the stage Ken Oliver from Just Capital, Tuan Huynh from Vietfive Coffee, and Hoai Scott from NBCUniversal.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Now, for those of you who read the program or the run-up on the website, my boss, Larry Miller, was supposed to be here, the chairman of the Jordan brand at Nike, but his plane got delayed last night and he actually could make it in. So he stuck with me, moderating this amazing conversation with two amazing leaders in the second chance space, both of whom I'm very proud to call not only my colleagues, but my dear friends. I'd like to introduce Hoai Scott from NBC Universal and Tuan Huynh from Vietfive Coffee here in Chicago. And today we're going to have a very insightful conversation. By the way, I'm Ken Oliver, President and CEO of JUMP, the Justice and Upward Mobility Project, which is Larry Miller's foundational project named after his book. Today we're going to have a very insightful conversation around implementation of second chance hiring, something that's very near and dear not only to my heart, but to Larry's heart and to these leaders' hearts as well. So I'll start off asking the question of why, who works for one of the biggest media companies in the world, how she was a torchbearer by implementing second chance hiring in such a large organization, which typically has such large barriers as general counsel and others who stop programs like this. So why, tell us a little bit about how you implemented this at NBC Universal.
Yeah, thank you. So we are an employer that centers the voice of employees. And we asked people, what could we do that would engage you? And what they said was, we want to use our skills to do purpose-driven work and meaningful work with our peers that changes the world. And so we are a film company, and we decided that we could use our superpower of storytelling to put different narratives into the world. And we thought that we could have an impact on systemic inequities in the world. And so we decided to partner with a group called the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And what they do is they work to end mass incarceration and to help reintegrate returning citizens into society. And what we learned is that employment and housing and education are ways to reduce recidivism. And so we work with the ARC. It's really important if you want to become a fair chance employer to have a partner. And this partner can help you with wraparound services that corporations can't. And so things like housing, transportation, how to get a credit card, get a bank account and things like that. But what we could do is that we could be providing employment opportunities. And so we started a pilot interns. And we hired them to supervisors that were willing to be flexible with them and just in the skills of working in a corporate environment. And what we learned is that this work is mutually beneficial. And so as a company, we got amazing employees that were excellent, and they were intelligent and creative and hardworking and humble and promotable. And so we have hired dozens of interns that we pipelined into full-time roles. We also have employees that we hired directly into full-time roles in positions in marketing, in production IT. We have somebody who joined us as an intern that became an application developer and then got promoted now to software engineer. And so we have careers for people, not just entry-level jobs. And then we also helped our leaders and their employees gain proximity to people different than themselves. And we all learned our common humanity. We all want to contribute. We all want to thrive. And everybody was changed by the experience. And so I think a lot of employees who work at media and entertainment companies don't feel that they could, do work that changes the world. And that's our employer value proposition, is that you can work with us and use your skills. You can do things like advance people's skills and help them gain careers. And every person that is changed has a ripple effect in their community. And so it's a win-win.
Win-win for sure. I just want to ask one follow-up question, because so many times in this work, I talk to leaders all across the country who talk about implementing fair chance hiring, but they usually talk about it in terms of entry-level positions. And one of the things that fascinated me about you and your organization when I had a chance to go on a site visit a couple of years ago with you and some of the team members was that you didn't limit where justice impacted people could enter into the hierarchy at NBC. And I thought that was amazing because so many times, like I said, we hear, oh, we have these entry level roles and we expect people. So we set the bar of lower expectation, but you all actually did something different. You opened up the aperture and looked at people for the talent that they had. Can you talk about how you were able to actually, or the mindset that went into doing it, and how you were able to connect with peers and leadership to be able to do that as well?
Yeah, I think that there was an initial fear from employees and leaders that they might not be safe or that there would be a security risk. And so and it's natural because those are the stereotypes that exist in the world, is that people who are formerly incarcerated are dangerous and threatening and forever guilty. And so we actually learned people's stories and we got close to them and then we shared them with our leadership. And that's when you gain compassion, is you understand somebody's experience and what led them to commit a crime and what they also did to reform and rehabilitate. And so then we got to know the leadership of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, and they assured us they were committed to sending us people who were drug-free, crime-free, who were on a path, that was productive. And what we said to them is that we're going to give people opportunities, but we're a business. And so we're not going to change our standards of excellence. So we'll give you the opportunity, but you also have to show up and you also have to do a good job and demonstrate that you're going to be loyal, that you're going to work hard, that you're going to contribute. And when we got people close to each other, they really gained a sense of compassion. And so when you think about empathy versus compassion, empathy is understanding somebody's experience, but then compassion actually takes it a step further, where you understand somebody's suffering, but then there's action behind it, that you want to take action to alleviate somebody's suffering. And so we got leadership really interested because the work got done. It was excellent. And then it was such a morale booster for employees to be able to contribute to society that it became a retention tool for us, that people were really proud to be able to work for a company that did this and was committed to it.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. Tuan, I want to pivot to you and talk about the other end of the spectrum. Brian Stevenson often talks about proximity, and you are a case study here in Chicago about what proximate leadership can do, those of us who've been impacted. Can you talk a little bit about your own journey being impacted and then your decision to actually give back not only to the community, but other justice impacted people?
Yeah, my journey started back as a refugee. I came to Vietnam. I came to the U.S. at 3 years old, growing up in government housing here in the States. And at the age of 18, I was charged and convicted with a first-degree murder conviction. I was sentenced to life imprisonment. After serving 15 and a half years in the max security prison at Lansing Correctional Facility outside of Kansas City, which half of that 7.5 years I spent in solitary confinement and restriction units. In 2011, I was able to be released on my first parole eligibility date, on the day that I was parole eligible on a life sentence and a murder conviction. After that, I went back to college and went to a conceptual design program and received my bachelor's degree. And the largest ad agency came in, recruited me, and looked at my portfolio. Leo Burnett. They brought me to the city of Chicago, which is the city now I call home, where my 2 kids and my wife, we raise our children on the west side of Chicago. And why we doing the work that we do, it is because of life experiences. Though my path, I wish not upon anyone in this room or people but I am grateful for the journey that I'm here today, because now we get to be able to provide that pathway for others. Literally, I just told Ken, from grounds to greatness. We all want to achieve something, within ourselves, and how we want to provide that for others is that view their excellence first and then provide a pathway for upward mobility. Whether you have a disability or a background, you still deserve in a space of dignity. You still be deserved of equality, to be viewed as a person, right? The disease of hopelessness, particularly in places and with people experiencing the poverty or the backgrounds that holds them back. Sometimes you feel like you don't belong in this space like this. Before I would walk into this room, I would think that I would first be pat down or not be welcome or someone would not look at you in the eye. But We created a space now in the West Loop. After 8.5 years working in advertisement, I've won many awards, and I left that to start our own business because I know that I can only do so much in the space of corporate America. But now we can create our own space that we can create spaces for other folks because we believe everyone do have a rightful presence in this moment, in this time. And through Viet5, that's what we get to do. And I love seeing the red cups on the tables. Yeah. You know, it that for me is the joy. It is closing that proximity. You are drinking coffee that's grown and harvested by my family in Vietnam. And I import it right here to the city of Chicago, which I believe is the greatest city in the whole world. Because it is in this city that's allowed someone like me, with my journey and my path, to be able to excel and grow and thrive and live, and also excel and hopefully one day fly. And we all want to be able to have wings and fly despite where we started. And that's really our hope for our people, our team, and our city.
That's an amazing story, Tuan. I appreciate it. One of the things that really amazes me about you is not only your personal transformation, your own personal journey. Most people would have stopped at their own success. You have a successful business in the West Loop, but you have taken the extra step to want to give back to people who have suffered similar journeys as you have. Can you talk a little bit about the program you've implemented in reference to second chance hiring? We've heard from Wai how she's kind of navigated the space inside of a big company. How have you navigated that in a small company, and how have you seen that affect the people that you hire?
Yeah, I shared with Angela last night, what is success? Right? It's to live a life worth remembering, not one so easily forgotten. And I think how we implement that is that when they walk through the doors at Viet5, their resume does matter, but their qualification is that they do want to achieve something great within themselves. And at Viet5, everyone has the ability to become a manager. There is no back of house. We want everyone to be seen or heard and represent the brand as if they were myself or my wife. It is our story, and we have a shared journey. And through that, we want to provide upward mobility through certification, to training, and then one day owning, their own business, because that's our entrepreneurship pathway at Viet5. And one of our team members is on that track right now. And other ones are getting their specialty certifications through the SCA, to the Specialty Coffee Association, where they become professional roasters, professional Q graders through our program. And if they want to go through the food service area, we do have peers and friends in the industry where they can excel beyond what we do, right? But they become managers, they become supervisors, because that's what we want to see for our team members, not just a barista. They're going to become an owner, changing their own perception of where they are and who they are and how people view individuals like myself and others. And that's each and every day that we provide that at the shop is beyond just training, but really be able to give them a qualification that they can move into the professional space as equals. And we're really proud of that, to be able to do that each and every day.
Thank you for that, Tuan. Well, I wanted to pivot back to you a little bit. We talked a little bit about the worker and the transformation that happens with the individual. I've seen it live in action there at NBC. Can you talk a little bit about how it's affected the people that you hire? So oftentimes we think about this as like this binary zero sum kind of game, but it really has an impact on the people that are given an opportunity. And like Tuan said, people who have seen themselves on the margins of society, not being able to participate, not being able to earn a livable wage, and actually how that undermines community safety, because we often get pushed back out to the communities we come from, and we do what we know how to do if we don't have those spaces. So can you talk about what you've seen the last few years and how it's impacted the worker in your environment there?
So I'll answer that in two ways. In terms of the formerly incarcerated population, many of them come to us with imposter syndrome. And so they feel like they're going to be treated as outsiders or they don't belong. And so part of what we do is we help build confidence, and we help build skills, and we help people practice what it's like to work in a corporate environment. And I was in a meeting in a boardroom, and I came to America as a refugee as well, as the Vietnam War. So this is a historic moment to have two Viets on stage. And I remember sitting in this boardroom and having the CFO present to us. And I looked around at this beautiful space that I was in and having the CFO of our organization. And I also had my returning citizen with me in the room. And I looked around and I was like, how did I get here? You know, like a child coming to this country with only the clothes on her back and ending up in a boardroom. And afterwards, I asked my coworker, Louis, who's formerly incarcerated, and he served 25 years in prison. I said, how did you feel being in that room? And he said, I felt for the first time that I belong. And so I think that's something very special for somebody with his background to be able to experience. And then I would say on the employee side, we attract and retain people because of our culture, because we work to create communities of inclusion. And I have an employee who is a technologist. He's in our film tech department. And he was contacted by another tech company for a job. And he said to our chairman, he wrote her a letter after this happened. He said that I was approached by this tech company and they're known for their work in DEI. And so I said to my supervisors, hey, I have this opportunity because they're so supportive of my development. They said, yeah, you should go and interview and see what you think. And so he went and he was prepared and they asked him, like it went through the normal interview process. And so he came prepared to ask questions. And so he said, your company is known in the industry as being really committed to DEI. And in my work as a technologist, I get to work with formerly incarcerated people and help them gain marketable skills. And I get to do inclusion work at my company. How could I do that here? Is there an opportunity? And so the interviewer said, what are you talking about? We have a department that does that. And no, we don't, I can't think of any opportunity for you to do that. And he said, no, I mean, like as a technologist, not working in an inclusion department, how can I do it as a technologist? Because it means a lot to me. And so the interviewer said, I'm confused. I don't know what you're talking about. So he said, that's fine. I'll have another interview. So maybe I'll ask a question again and get a different answer. So he went on his second interview and the interviewer said, do you know what job you're interviewing for? Because it seems like you want to work for DEI. And he said, no, I'm a technologist. And so he wrote this note to our chairman and he said, in that moment, I understood what culture is. And I expect more of myself because you expect more of me. And so it's an example of retention. And this employee is such an excellent colleague that he has recently spoken to Congress and the EU Parliament about the intersection of AI and media and storytelling. And he has decided to stay with us. And that's a very common example in our company, that people have a strong sense of pride in our leadership and our culture, and that leads to retention.
Thank you for that. That's an amazing story. I think we have no time left. Just to wrap it up. So, Tuan, I want to thank you for the work that you've done in Chicago and who you are and what you've done with Vietfive Coffee. Looking forward to working with you for many years to come here in Chicago. And why, same thing with you at NBCUniversal. You've done amazing things as a leader and brought your company along to be one of the leaders in the space. And we really appreciate you leading in that effort. It's a tremendous amount of lives you're affecting every day. So let's give it up for Tuan.